dun, 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 dun. Hey, hey, TV. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, TV.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Hey BTV. I am your host, Valencia Joy. So, I am always on a quest to delve deeper into relationships. I'm very interested in how relationships work, especially male female relationships. Um, and I think it's very important to get both sides. You know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I don't know if I said that right. I think I did.
Yeah.
So I always pay attention on Facebook when I'm looking at my next guest post because it's usually very enlightening and he talks a lot about relationships and he's written a couple books about them that we're going to talk about today. He is a father, a husband and a father, a spoken word artist. He's a poet and a visual artist. George Echo Lee. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Most grateful that you reached out to me for this.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm good. Hot, but I'm good.
I know, but don't complain because you know tomorrow
Right.
it's snow.
It's Ohio, so I'm good.
And it's
Not
2020.
Right. Exactly.
Anything can happen.
Sheesh.
A relationship from the man's point of view, an established man that now knows what he wants in a relationship. And I think you're perfect for this. You are divorced and remarried, correct?
That is correct.
So how long were you divorced before you met your wife?
Well, I was separated July of 2014. I met her in January of 16, although my divorce wasn't final until April of 16. So when I met her in January, it wasn't even us dating. I sold her my book, which is how we met. So I used to sell my book primarily on Facebook. She reached out to me, asked me how could she get a copy. So she was local. So to save money on postage, I would deliver them on my off days, which was Monday. Went up to her job, sold her the book, didn't think nothing of it. That was January of 16. So we joked a little bit. I told her, hey, if I'm not sensitive about my art, so give me the reel on how you like the book. Maybe about 3 months later, I reached out to her again. Well, actually, no, I was doing these Dear Future Wife posts, which actually birthed my second book. See? Right. So those are actually comprised of posts that I used to post daily on Facebook, maybe 5 days a week. Dear Future Wife, blah, blah, blah. Sincerely, George. So one day in April of that year, she responded to one like, thank you. And I'm like, thank you. Whatever. So I inboxed her like, so you think that was for you? And she says, oh, yeah, that was for me. I said, okay, well, if you think that was for you, then why don't you let me take you out on a date? So that was April of
her on here.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's how that went down. Yeah, book I sold to her was Lover.
Okay, so that explain to us what Lover is about.
Yeah, and that's actually this right here, Lover, and it's available on Amazon, $15. This is I call it a guidebook for my fellow men on simply how we can better treat our women. I started writing it, ironically, when I was married the first time, but it came to mind because I was for maybe 17 years I've been working in colleges. Mm-hmm. And I was seeing a lot of young relationships mm-hmm. and how they were carried out that scared me. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget this one instant that really stuck in my brain. I was helping a girl. She was a student with her financial aid, and her boyfriend was waiting in the lobby. So he's like, I need you to hurry up. I got somewhere to be. And just the way that he was talking to her, I'm like, wow. So I'm done with her. She gets up. She walks with her boyfriend out. I follow them because I have to go to the bathroom. So I guess she was walking too slow for him, and he goes, "Hurry up, B. I ain't got all day." But that was disrespectful enough. But the response from her was, I'm sorry, I'm coming. Now, in my day, and I know I sound like an old man when I say this, in my day, I would have got slapped. I don't know any female peer of mine when I was in high school or college where I would have gotten away with that and not gotten a slap or a cussing out, and at least they leave. But she rolled with it, and that was not the first time. I started seeing that a lot. And so I'm like, you know what? I was blessed enough to have a dad that was present, that showed by example.
Do you think that that's the issue why a man would speak to a woman like that? Lack of male role models?
I think that's a part of it. I think it's a part of it. Only because I've known men, good men who have come up raised by single moms who seem to know how to treat a woman. So, but I do believe that's a part of it.
Well, what's the other part, George? Because I'm raising 2 boys,
Mm-hmm.
and they better not ever.
Yeah.
What is it that, and I also have a ton of nieces.
Yeah.
They better not ever stand for it. I don't understand that mentality.
That blows me away. I think it's external influences. Not to say I'm not one of them people that believe everything you watch on TV and everything you listen to automatically influences you. But there are elements to that can play a part. Some people are more influenced than others. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't know it from looking at me. I'm this, I've always been called like a cool nerd, but I was listening to Dr. Dre and all the misogynistic hip hop, the NWA that came out in the late 80s, early 90s, but I didn't allow it. I knew better. I didn't allow it to become a part of who I was. And what at the time seemed to supersede it was the fact that I had this father that was omnipresent who showed me by example. Then I also clung to a lot of positive male role models in the media, automatically clung to them as well. And I had some uncles who were very positive. But yeah, I think it's just a big piece of the pie. I think maybe the biggest piece though, maybe that lack of male role model, but I think it's merely a piece.
Okay, so you wrote the book and then you sold it to your wife, your future wife. And then she basically kind of jumped in your inbox. Can we say that?
Yeah. Well, and she would, because I always make it seem like that, but really I jumped in hers. She commented. She commented on the thread on my timeline, like, "Hey, thank you." And so then I jumped in her inbox, like, "Oh, thank you, really?" Like, okay, so that was for you, and then that's kind of where it went.
So, can a woman be assertive that way in saying, "Yeah, that was for me"?
Yeah,
is that okay for women? There are so many women, single women, that I feel are just shy in that area of putting themselves out there to say, like, I like you.
Right.
So as a man, that's welcomed, yes?
Yeah, I thought it was sexy. I thought it was, I'm like, oh, okay, wow. I'm like, I didn't see it coming. I thought, yeah, I mean, closed mouths don't get fed. She wasn't aggressive, but she, and then it was subtle. It was in a jokey joke way. It wasn't really, so I dug it. I'm like, okay, this is what's up, I don't see anything wrong with a woman being assertive. Like I said, it was balanced because it wasn't necessarily aggressive, but she was interested and she threw it out there, and here we are.
I like it. I still be scared, but I like it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because divorce is hard. right? And it's painful,
Yeah,
and
buddy.
especially when children are involved.
Yeah.
How did you know that you were ready to make that leap again?
Um, when I had enough time with myself, I feel like, and I've always talked about this, I feel like a lot of us just go from tree to tree without, we got our hand on the next tree as the other hand is still on the other tree.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure that I had purged everything. I wanted to make sure that whatever was from the last was just off of me. And so I knew at the point when all of that was off of me. Simple as that. I knew when it had shed itself off of me, and when I kind of got to, I mean, I already felt like I knew myself, but I felt like once I knew myself again, all over again, I was ready. When I met Keisha, I wasn't like, okay, I'm ready and go. It wasn't, I was dating, but when I met her, she was the one that kind of stopped me in my tracks. It had a lot to do with timing, opportunity, space, and she was just the one that seemed to just stop me in my tracks. And she was the one that kind of came forward without even trying. But it was then I knew, okay, you're ready. You're ready.
Did her presence in your life encourage you to get ready faster?
No, because by the time I realized we were serious, I was already ready. Like I said, a little bit before I met her, I felt like I was ready.
What makes a man ready? What are some
Sure.
qualities?
I would just say you're like, it's nothing like being cool with being by yourself. Like, I know a lot of people who are not comfortable with being alone, even for a day. They always gotta. I knew when, like, me and my ex-wife have joint custody. We have week on, week off. So my off weeks, man, there was some weeks where I spent the whole week by myself. I would go to work. After work, I would chill at home. Maybe one of my favorite places is the bookstore. So maybe a couple days after work, I go to the bookstore, write. Almost didn't want to see anybody I knew. Just to be comfortable, because when your marriage is serious, you joined with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it's for a long period of time, not to say you forget who you are, but you have to refamiliarize yourself with who you are without someone. Even though I still knew who I was when I was with her, but it's a difference when you're by yourself. And so I had to refamiliarize myself with me. And once I felt like I was comfortable enough, I knew I was ready. So it was a matter of not getting to a place where I was okay with being by myself, and even starting to do things that I maybe didn't have time to do when I was married that now I could do. And, going back to the open mics and, writing more, because I started writing more, which is how my book got finished. So yeah, I knew at that point I was ready. And then I knew, like I said, shedding off things from the previous, because a lot of people, and sometimes we do it without knowing, we bring in from the former to the new. So I knew then when I didn't really have anything else to bring in.
I think that process for me after my divorce was very hard because I had spent a lot of time, my identity had become his wife and their mother.
Yep.
And I didn't even know who Valencia was anymore. And being by myself was difficult. It was quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Silence can be deafening. And it was very hard for me to go through that process of learning who I am and liking my own company and figuring out what my hobbies are and beginning to write again.
Right.
And because divorce is so painful, it was hard not to just let the silence make me slip into a depression.
Yeah.
Versus doing the work.
Yeah.
Of figuring out who I am. I think that's big after a divorce, and it's big before you enter into a new relationship.
Yes, most
Because I'll
definitely.
always, from that point forward, I will always have my own identity,
Hmm.
separate from whatever title I hold in anyone else's life.
Right.
Right?
Yes, I'm big on quality time alone as well as with your spouse. So the great thing about my first marriage was that we maintained that. So I had my identity, she had hers, but then we had an identity together.
That's
But
beautiful.
now I had to navigate, once I'm separated and divorced, refamiliarizing me 24/7. And so and I'm not gonna lie, it was hard at first,
Hmm.
especially the weeks that I would drop my son off because it was Sunday to Sunday. So I remember telling my son, my hardest day was always Mondays. The Monday after work, when I would come home. Not so much Sundays too when I dropped them off, but then I would, you start the week, you go to work, and when you're used to something for years, so now I'm coming home, unlocking the door, and
And
it's
the
just me.
silence.
It's like, wow, it's really just, wow, okay, okay.
Yeah.
that was the hardest part.
Yeah. I
Yep.
get that. I totally identify with that.
Woo.
Um,
Yeah.
so was it at all scary for you to realize that you were attracted enough to your second wife to want to marry her? Is that
A little.
apprehension or?
Um, I would say the hopeless romantic in me doesn't leave too much room for that because I'm very, I've always been this way. Uh, I've always had little fear when it came to relationships, intimate relationships. That's just how I've been like this. I thought I was just going to be like this when I was a teenager, but this is how I've always been.
Okay.
So there was when I knew there was no apprehension. I remember the moment I felt like, okay, it was maybe about a year and a half into it. And I had my son and we were going to the barbershop, and I started taking her son to the barbershop with us. And so I knew that he was going to be at home and that her daughter was going to be at the house. And we were still not living together. So I went to pick him up and she wasn't there. So I remember bringing them all in the kitchen and, hey, I'm planning to propose to y'all mom. Like, it was just no doubt, no apprehension, no. Matter of fact, there were moments, because I bought the ring in like October of 17, and I didn't propose to her until Christmas Eve. But there were like, in between those 2 months, it was hard to not just say, you know what, let me just propose Wednesday, because I had it planned out. So it was very hard. I wanted to rush it, but I didn't. So no real apprehension. Once I knew, I knew. Once I knew. Yeah.
Talk to me about blending the families.
Oh man. Now that's that's an animal that I'm still navigating through. It's tricky. It's very tricky. You're talking about one, my son who was raised differently from them. They raised differently from him. It's been a challenge, but not a challenge that we've not faced headstrong. I'm gonna tell you the core of going through that is communication. Communication, effective communication, and just communicating at all. But yeah, it's definitely something that I'm still, because it's new to me. So it's something that me and my wife are still working through and navigating. So far, so good.
How important are love languages? Knowing your spouse's love languages and knowing your own.
Extremely. I want to shout out Sanchez Lewis, who actually bought me that book. That was years ago. Actually, it was a wedding gift for my first wedding. I believe that's the book he bought me. I had heard about it, but never took a test or anything. So I took the test and found out that mine was quality time, which I'm like, yeah, I knew that. And the test I took was very detailed. So mine's is quality time, and then it goes deeper into communication, because I'm big big on communication. So that made sense. And my wife's is gifts in terms of showing you love her and that type of deal. But I think that's very important because while there are facets of love that to me are the same no matter who you are, no matter how you love, there are elements within each person that are different in terms of how we may interpret it, in terms of how we may show it without negating the universal aspects of it. And I say that because it used to annoy me in the past when people would say, well, they love differently. I'm like, no, love is love is love is love. And, you know, so I used to refer to that scripture, love is kind, love is what it is. It's love. Love has been love before you were here, before I was here, will be that after. So let's not change what love is. But there are elements to us that interpret it differently, that we move through it a little differently. And I think that's where love languages are extremely important. Say quality time for me may be immensely important, but maybe for you, it may be important, but maybe it's more important for you to hear me say I love you.
Yep.
Or show me you love me.
Yep.
Whereas mine is quality time. So, and that's okay.
Yep.
Yep.
I think any part of a relationship has a language.
Yes.
We focus on love languages because there's the book and the test and all of that. But any part, what makes me feel respected? What makes me feel supported? What makes me feel safe? Sex. All of these big components that make up a healthy relationship. You have to know how your spouse speaks these languages.
Yes.
And I don't know why we don't focus on the other stuff. I think love languages are very important. Don't get me wrong. I know
most
mine.
definitely.
I'll ask any new person, you know, what are yours? And then I dated a guy once who didn't know and didn't care to know. And I was kind of like, that's a little different.
Yeah. Okay.
Why don't you want to know?
Yeah, that's good information. Like,
it's excellent information.
Yeah.
But it's more than just love when it comes to relationship.
Oh, most definitely. When I was the hopeful romantic in me, when I was younger, I was all love, love, love. But love is the core. There's so much more. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I put happiness over love. Even now, I tell my son, your heart has the capacity over your lifetime to love a lot of people, but not everyone will make you happy. Ooh. And then the happiness begins with you. You have to be happy with who you are, because if you can't give what you don't have. If you're not happy with who you are, you can't make someone else happy. It's like giving food to someone when you don't have food. You don't have food. How are you giving food to somebody? So you have to be happy first. But yeah, you have we have the capacity to love over and over. But and happiness is what's
that goes back to spending time with yourself.
Yes.
And getting to know yourself and what makes you happy.
Exactly. That's how you're gonna find. How else are you gonna find out if you're? It's no different than spending time. You find out somebody by spending time with them. So how are you gonna find out about you? Spend time with you.
Yeah.
And that's such a simple concept that a lot of us forget. You gotta spend time with you to get to know you, like you would anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a telltale sign that a man is truly interested in?
Okay, well, I would say, and I may not be a good gauge for this, but because honestly, a lot of people wouldn't guess this, but outside of a relationship, I'm extremely shy, and I'm an
introvert.
Yeah, I'm an introvert when it comes to women, but an extrovert when it comes to everything else.
Okay.
That's just how I am. So I would say persistence, and not the creepy type of persistence, but persistence. When you really want a woman's attention, it's hard to give up. Like you're not just gonna try to get her attention, and I'm good, or I got a man, well, not that I got a man, but I'm not interested, or I'm taking time out for me, and you just give up.
There's no real interest.
You're gonna come on. You gotta you become creative. You get persistent. Again, it's a fine line though. Not creepy persistent. Not showing up at the job or outside in the car across the street.
With your bone box.
Right.
Playing love songs.
Right. But yeah, like a good persistence, I would say. That's how you would know. As far as a man not being interested, I mean, I guess it would just be the opposite. It would be not, because I also do see, and I see this both though. I see it both ways. Men and women pursuing people that are giving them all of the signs that they're not interested, not calling you back. I remember I was dating somebody, and we went out a couple times, and I was calling, and there was no callbacks, and I'm like, okay, I guess not. I thought we had a good time. When she even came over, we watched a movie, but then after that, I was calling, and that was my sign.
Yeah.
Stop calling. But you have a lot of people that actually would just, and that's that creepy persistent. They would go overboard and like, she didn't call me back. I'm done. I'm good. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go over here. So yeah, that would be my summation of that.
Okay. So on Facebook, I posted, ladies, what's something you don't understand about men? And the men were to respond. When I tell you this post,
and I'm gonna tell you something about your posts. Your posts are almost tailor-made for how I think, but I always see your post at the oddest times, and I never have time to give my input. Like, I saw that post, I was ready to go to bed, it was 11:30 at night, and I'm like, oh, I don't, but I gotta go to sleep. And then by the time tomorrow morning came, I forgot about it. Like, I always, but I know what post you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I want to read a couple questions that the women had, just to get your take on it. And there were some humorous ones.
Yeah.
But the more serious ones, why do men have a hard time communicating, and why do they play games?
I think I saw that one. Now, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, I mean, and I can honestly say I've never had that issue, but I think a lot of men were raised to, like, I've been called a wuss by a lot of guys in the past for communicating, for being open and honest with whomever I was with at the time, which is why now I have more female friends than male friends. So communicating, a lot of, and I've talked to men who actually feel like that's a sign of weakness to communicate. And I guess depending on what they're choosing to communicate about or to express their emotions, which can fall under communicating. I would say, as far as playing games, because they're not serious. And it just, I mean, that's kind of simpler. Because a man that's serious about whatever, he's not playing games, whether it's about a woman, a job, a goal, an ambition. There are no games being played. So if he is playing games, it's simply because he's not serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why can't men take accountability?
And I think that kind of goes with both sexes, because it's hard to look at yourself. It's hard to look at oneself, and it kind of goes back to what me and you were talking about previously. Once you know yourself, you can own yourself. You own your flaws and you own your perfections. And so that's why if someone were to call me out on where I know my flaws are, I'm good. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I know who George is. Like me and my wife was joking the other day. I am the empty water bottle layer around her. So I will drink water and leave a half a bottle. That's me. And I just started doing that like 2 years ago. So my wife called me out on it. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to do better. It is. I know who I am. So I just think that comes from either you don't know who you are, or you do, but you're not ready to own up to where your shortfalls and where your flaws are. And so you don't want to take accountability.
Why do men go hard to get her feelings involved and then pull the I don't want a relationship bait and switch?
In my opinion, because that's not what their goal was in the first place. Their goal, if that's what they're doing, in my opinion, their goal was not to attain to a level of a serious relationship in the onset. And a lot of us, we look at the moment, but we don't look at the week, month, or year. So we're just engaging in the moment while the woman is being pulled in, and we're not looking at what we're doing as being signs of this could be serious. And then all of a sudden, hey, can we take this to the next level? All of a sudden we're like, huh, what you? Because we wasn't looking at our habits. When we've got to start aligning what we're doing with our intentions, because a lot of us do this set of things that equate to courting. It equates to making someone serious, but then that's not our goal. Well, then we need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
It's almost like the memes that go around Facebook that says, stop being with someone who treats you like a girlfriend when you're wife material. Because we're putting out these serious rituals and habits, but that's not our end game. And so then we get frustrated when the woman is like, hey, can we do it? And we're like, what you talking about? Like, no, you don't do that. Like, hold off, you know. And I think the whole art of courting, for that reason, that's a little bit of the reason. I think that's gone.
What is courting?
Courting for me, first of all, it's purposeful. It's intent. Courting for me is you're intending to, you're dating with a purpose, with the purpose of having an end goal of seeing how serious this could be. And so you're doing things along the way to show that person, I'm serious, or I'm trying to be serious. This is where I want to end up. It's not just you're just going out with it's the things you're doing, and it's the things you're saying on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. That's courting to me. It's more so it's with a purpose, it's with intent. And I feel like that's what's become lost. The intent is lost. And I feel like that's what courting is.
Is the standard that women should hold for courting, is that lost as well?
I think so, because I think that not all, I think that there's a lot of women's standards that have diminished because of maybe what they've seen in their life, maybe what their friends are going through. I've actually, because I did a little bit of research when I wrote my first book, I've actually talked to females who actually believe, which is so sad, well, if I got to have multiple guys to make up for one man, that's what I got to do. It's like, oh my God. Because they feel like there's honestly no men out here left that can make up the whole of what they're looking for. And so they're willing to settle, not all, but enough, more than what I thought, which is just so sad to me. And so it becomes easy for men to just do enough for a passing grade, because they're like, well, they're willing to just accept this. Okay, we're on the same page. Why give A effort when they're willing to accept C effort? It makes it easy.
Why are men so fragile?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we don't want to accept that we're fragile. And that's okay. A lot of us don't see that as strong, but it's strong. And so I think sometimes what it is we look more fragile than we are, but we're walking around so much putting up a front because we're afraid to be fragile. When, like, I'm raising my son now to let him know it's okay to cry. It's okay to express yourself, express what you want. It's okay to If somebody, pisses you off with something they did, as long as it's in a respectful way, to let them know, hey, what you did there hurt my feelings,
Mm-hmm.
like my father did with me. And I think a lot of men are just simply afraid to do that. And so when they are fragile, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's almost like because they're not like that on a regular, I feel like sometimes when it comes out, it comes out.
Why don't some of you ever love us fully?
Hmm. Honestly, because we don't love ourselves fully. It goes back to, you cannot give out what you do not have. And that's sad. I think, and again, that's some of it. I also think that a lot of men don't want to admit that they've been hurt
Mm-hmm.
in their bad priors, and they have not resolved that hurt. They have not resolved that bitterness. And so men and women, not exclusively, but most men, to get over hurt or get over pain, they more so exhibit more destructive behaviors than women. And so it's never resolved. And now you've moved on to the next one, and you're incapable of loving fully because you've yet to resolve what hurt you fully, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
How important is it for a woman to create a safe space for her man to be vulnerable and expressive and free?
Extremely. First, I want to say that it is extremely important for the man and the woman to do that. But the reason I think it may be even more crucial for the woman to do that for her man is because men, whether we want to admit it or not, we're more scared of being vulnerable. So we're more fearful because how a lot of us were raised. And so it is very crucial that we are made to feel like it's okay, because we are already walking around equating that with weakness.
How did she begin to do that?
In the beginning, it was by way of, we spent hours, a lot of our relationship for the first 6 months was talking, minus phones and TV. A lot of dinners and lunches and living room couch. So and I always tell her that's kind of how she brought me in. I'm a communicator. So her telling me intimate things about her past, her present, and then her asking me intimate things about my past and present. That's immediately how she did that. Immediately.
So I guess it's what you're saying in essence is learning their man's love language
Yes. Yes.
and speaking
Yes.
it
Most definitely.
fluently to make him feel safe.
Because when she met me, I remember telling her one of the things I didn't feel comfortable about in my prior marriage was communicating. As far as on day-to-day things, sometimes my ex made me feel like I was talking too much. So I noticed when I was dating, that was the only thing left that I had almost carried over, because I would talk and then I would shut myself up. When
Mm-hmm.
and whoever I was dating would be like, "Why you stop talking?" I'm like, I think I'm talking too much." "No, you're not. This is wonderful." I'm like, "No, I'm talking too much." So I got out of that, and she reassured when I met her and we were in the beginning stages that it was okay to just communicate.
Is it fair to say that when you're building a relationship, there needs to be a great amount of patience with each other?
Yes. Just like anything else. When you start a job, when you learn how to do something new, you have to have patience. You have to. You're getting to know another human being that you've never known before. So there needs to be patience on both ends.
And
There may be.
we come with a fair amount of baggage,
Mhm.
especially the older you are or the more life experiences you've had.
Yes.
So I think to say, you have to make a woman feel safe, mind, body, and soul, that can be hard to do
Mhm.
if she's used to being by herself, if she's used to being single or used to handling things on her own.
Right.
Or for women, if we're saying that we need to create safe spaces for a man, but he's used to not being vulnerable or not
Yeah.
opening up, it would take a lot of patience for us to stick around while he gets used to this space that I'm trying to create.
Right. And see, that speaks to when me and my wife met. Now, she's been by herself for a while. I, on the other hand, was married for years. Before that, I was in a couple of long-term relationships. So in the last 26 years of my life, there were gaps when I was by myself, but it wasn't a long time. Whereas it was the opposite with her. So I meet her. She already has 2 half-grown children. I have a school age, a 7-year-old at the time. And so we always talk about how we're still working through how she has to get used to there's this other half now, and y'all got to work together because she's done what she's done by herself for so long. Whereas I'm used to compromising, working with someone to make household decisions. That's my background. So yeah, most definitely.
Let's talk about the book.
Yes.
I have Dear Future Wife, and you also have Lover.
Yes.
And you said you wrote the book based off of things that you were seeing in relationships.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Sure. So what I decided to do, as I've said, was, and I have it formatted in letters. So there's the letter of communication, the letter of devotion. That brother I saw that day, who was speaking to his girlfriend any old way, I remember feeling like I just want to write him something. I want to write him like a guide, so that's when I started, hey, maybe I should write a book. And then I've always been told, you should write a book with I don't know, the way I think and the certain opinions I have about relationships. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna write a book. So it just basically, it's like I'm talking to the men who may want a better way, need to see a better way, need to know what to do in this situation. That's kind of what and not to say by any means I'm perfect, but I feel like I was blessed enough again to have a living, breathing example of what a good father and what a good husband was. My father actually never put me on his knee and was like, hey, this is how you treat. I just saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a kid, I assumed that's what you were supposed to do. I remember watching cartoons and in Indian style, sitting on the floor in front of the TV with a bowl of cereal and seeing them come in with roses for my mom. And it wasn't her birthday. It wasn't Valentine's Day. And I'm looking at him like, okay, I guess that's what you're supposed to, 6, 7 years old. Kids are watching us.
Yeah.
So I felt like, and I watched my dad all my life do that. That's what he did. So I felt like in the least, let me document how I feel in these particular areas to, and the irony, I was looking to try to sell it to men, but it was women that mostly bought the book, but thankfully enough, they would buy it to give to their husband or nephew or son, which is how it turned out. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So it's a form of mentorship.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. I actually looking to turn this into a class. I'm working with a couple people here now in Columbus that I'm looking to do that with. Yeah, it's just, it's a lot of guys out here that I've talked to that I don't know. I'm like, where did you get that idea from? Like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
No, that's not, no. And to me, there's no written rule or law as to how to do something, but there's always a better way. And that's what I'm proposing. Just a better way. try this way as opposed to this way. One thing I talk about communication, which is my favorite subject. I talk about proactive listening. So, okay, yeah, you listening, but are you listening? And I feel like what a lot of us do is we listen thinking of what to say to what you're saying. We're not really listening. We're rehearsing in our, okay, this is what I'm gonna say when she done. Soon as she done, I'm gonna say it. Then you done, we say what we say, and then you're wondering why what we said had nothing to do with what you said. Because I wasn't listening. And so I talk about proactive listening. Actually listen. And then respond to what she don't, already have in your mind what you're saying. Listen to what she's saying. So stuff like that.
What else do you talk about with communication? Proactive listening, and what else?
Proactive listening. I just talk about how it's gotta be effective. I tell my wife all the time, I'm not necessarily against when you interrupt me, but it's how you interrupt me. Because sometimes you need to remember your thought, and sometimes you can't remember what you would have said once I'm done talking. So I have nothing against, but babe, but it's how. It's in the house. So I'll talk about that. Talk to me respectfully. Let's not call each other names. Let's not, we can, even depending on the subject, we can afford to agree to disagree. Some things can be afforded to agree to disagree. Now, some things can't because it might be crucial, but some stuff, the toilet paper. Okay. So I'm a overdue.
The universal argument.
And
the temperature of the house.
I got it. The patent says it's supposed to go over. That's the patent when it was invented. So I got it. Yeah. So I'm an over person. She's an under person. I choose my battles. So when we moved in together, and she's the only woman I've ever met that most women are over. So I'm like, oh, she's under. Wow. Okay. This is different. I'm an over dude. Mm-hmm. So I remember us talking about it one time, and it's like, baby, we agreed to disagree. I'm not about to argue about that. It ain't worth it. So she's under, I'm over.
Oh, what you doing?
Hey, Keisha.
Hi.
Lord.
I done took my stuff off. Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Had a little break from our conference, so I came to say hey to him. I got about 17 minutes before I have to get back on.
Okay.
How are you?
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So earlier in the conversation with George, we were talking about how you guys started your relationship, and he said that you had responded thank you to one of his posts.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So a lot of times for single women, we talk about should we approach a guy or should we jump in their DMs and all of that. What is your advice to the single women in regards to this?
Well, my advice is, hey, take a chance. Ain't nothing wrong with taking a chance, because if I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have George today.
Was it nerve-wracking for you?
And you know what? And honestly, when he made the little comment, I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't think that it was going to be like, hey, can we hang out? It was just like, he sent the message about the thank you on the post. Yeah. And then it went from the thank you to him inboxing me and mentioned, let's go out for a coffee or tea. And I said, I'll let you know. So I was kind of putting them on hold, like, put you on ice, because I don't know. I ain't really too cool on these DMs, but let me just see. Plus, I was dating somebody else, because at the time when we met, I told him that I was kind of what they call a serial dater. One of my sorors has said, girl, just date. Don't just get with one person. Mm-hmm. Have fun. This is your time.
We were both doing that.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about that on our first date.
That was, yep.
So when he did, it was like, okay, this is different. Let me put him on hold. But again, if I wouldn't have, we wouldn't be here today. So It was a leap of faith. I took a chance. So I tell anybody out there, there's nothing wrong with just taking a chance. And that's exactly what I did. And then again, if you go and he's not the guy you want to be with, the next time if you want to hook up, block him.
You're a mess, babe. You're a mess.
That's the pleasures of social media and our phones and technology. If we don't want to be bothered, block them. Yeah. And move on. So
was that good advice for you that your soror gave you to just date Is that good
Yeah,
advice for singles?
It was, yes, because I've always been the type beforehand, and me and George, we talked about this. I would get with one person,
That's me. That was me.
and we'll go out a couple times, and we would immediately say, okay, we're together. This is the only person I'm going to talk to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to anybody else. Nobody else matters. And I would see other guys and be like, oh, well, I'm talking to such and such. I can't kick it with you. No, this time around, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take her advice. If I want to go out with John tonight, I'm going to go out with John. If I want to go out with Jonathan the next night, I'm going to go out with Jonathan. If I want to go out with George, I'm going to go out with George. And as long as I'm being honest with them,
Yeah.
it's okay.
That's
So
the
when
kicker,
me and George got together, we were on our date, and I said, hey, I just went out with Jonathan the other night, and we had a great time. With him, it's a little quiet, but with you, it's noisy. So I like your noise. So let's go out again. And that's how it's been.
Yep. And my and I was telling her, because God rest my grandmother, but when she was alive, because I was like that. I would date one person, and then after 3 dates, we go together.
Yep.
And my grandmother used to like, George, that's not dating.
Yeah.
When you go look for a car, do you go to one car lot?
Right.
Look at and then that's the car you get? No, you go to several. When you look at apartments, you go to several.
Right.
When you look, so, and again, the kicker is honesty though.
Yep, being honest. Yep.
When I got back into the dating world, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take my grandmother's advice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was honest.
Yep.
I was dating around, trying to, and then by the time I met Keisha, I was dating her, and I had recently
you had a couple girls.
Here we go. I was dating her, and I was recently out with 2 others.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened, Keisha was the one that ended up kind of coming forward, and everybody else, because I wanted to see her more.
Yeah.
So I felt myself calling her like, "You want to go out again?" When I could have called the other one, but yeah. So
Keisha, sing over a little bit so we can get you in the shot.
Yeah, you in this now.
I'm in this now. Okay, I got a few more minutes.
So I think that's a conversation on social media a lot, is that we need to normalize for singles dating more than one person, and that it's okay.
Absolutely.
Like you said, as long as you're honest, it's
just
okay.
Be honest. Yeah.
And that's the kicker. Honesty.
Yep.
So in terms of relationships, George has expressed that he is big on communication, which we all know is huge in
That's his love language.
Yeah. Is huge in a healthy relationship. Talk about the silent treatment.
I can do that a lot, doesn't I?
That's your thing.
What does it truly accomplish? And when does it reach that unhealthy moment? Because there are people that can go like a couple hours. There are people that can go a day. And then there are people that can go like weeks without saying anything to you outside of what's absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm. Well, for us, I can only speak for me and our situations. He's the communicator. I'm so much. When we have our disagreements, I most of the time shut down. I can shut down because I would like to just get along. I don't like conflict. So when we don't agree on something or we don't agree on something, I immediately feel like, I'm mad about it to myself because he's not getting along. He's not going along with what I want him to do. And it's just me in my own way. And those are some things that I'm personally working through myself. And we've talked about this. I've talked about this. I'm in counseling myself. I definitely tell anybody therapy is good. We went to therapy. These are just things that I've been dealing with personally. I have this thing where I just want to get along. So if we don't agree on something, it burns me up. So I'd rather just stay silent and not say anything. But I know that that's not healthy for our relationship. So I'm learning how to communicate more. Whether it's give me an hour or 2 to gather my thoughts, because I don't want to say it the wrong way. Because that's another thing with me. And George always reminds me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that's me. I can come off snappy sometimes when I really don't mean it. It's just that I would rather him just go along with me. So I may snap. So I find myself now saying, hey, give me time to just walk away and come back. whereas George, he wants to talk about it right then and there. But he's learning to give me that time now to gather my thoughts so that we can talk about it more. So
yeah, and I don't mind an hour or two. It's just because I told her I was always a believer in not going to bed.
Yeah.
Like that's me.
And I can go to bed.
And she can do that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to meet me halfway now.
Yeah.
I'll give you an hour or two, but can we not go to bed and go to sleep and still wake? Cause that's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my God. And like I tell her all the time, we're opposite. I don't care if you don't agree with me.
Yeah.
I'm about the how.
Yeah.
You cannot agree with me all day and I will not be mad at you.
Yeah.
But I will get in a way if it's how you express yourself to me. Because I'm realistic. I know we are not going to agree on everything, and that is perfectly fine.
It's important to put a boundary around your offense.
Yes.
Your hurt feelings. So give me a couple hours.
Yeah.
And we'll reconvene.
Yep.
So, George, you don't like to go to bed angry because what?
Well, I just don't like sleeping on those emotions. It's not about, and I don't care about going to bed, still her not agreeing, or going to bed and she didn't see it my way. Just as long as you understand what I'm saying, and it's the way it's the way I feel with my best friends. Like we'll argue or whatever, but I may not talk to you till next week. So let's at least, man, you good? I'm good. You good? I'm good. Now we still ain't agreed, but you good? Okay, cool. All right, I'll see you next Monday.
Gotcha.
So this kind of the way I feel about going to bed mad. Like we ain't gotta agree, but are you good? Like, I hate that cold feeling of you're over there on the bed on that side and I'm over here and it's just like the Mississippi River is in the middle.
It is.
It's frozen over and we're
because I'll put the pillow right there.
That's why. Okay.
That's why that pillow.
I thought that was okay. I didn't know that was intentional.
Yeah, it's
See, you learn something new every day.
Don't cross that line.
Don't cross it.
Right.
But we're working through that and
of course.
just talking more and making sure that, hey, let's sit down and talk about it before, whether it's an hour or two, but we got to come back to it because it's not healthy. It's not healthy for either one of us. Yeah, and that's important.
So, Takesha, can I ask you a question? You were a single mom before you met George.
Yes.
That comes with a lot of pressure and responsibility and independence. Yes. Right?
Yes.
How did you shift?
It was hard.
Into being a wife where in traditional marriages, and you all correct me if this is not you guys, but in traditional marriages, the man is the head of the household. So how do you shift from you being the head? Like every time I do my taxes, I'm like HOH.
Yeah, that's how it's always. Exactly. And this year it was like, oh, I gotta include him. It was, honey, it was hard.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of our battles in the beginning. That was a lot of our battles in the beginning because I was so used to doing everything because it's always just been me and my two kids. So having George come in and kind of take on that head of household, and I'm so used to doing things my way because this is my house and I've been doing it this way for so long. And hey, you moving in with us, but hey, buddy, wait a minute. So those are the kind of arguments or disagreements that we would have is because I wasn't allowing him to lead because I was so used to leading. So it was very, very hard for me to put down the lead walls to say, okay, he's my husband. I have to give him room to do things. It was just even little things like the trash and just little things.
Yeah, like it took me a while to, can you let me take the garbage?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You have 3 boys in the house. Like you shouldn't even be touching the garbage.
Even like dishes. I mean, just a lot of things.
We still battle with dishes.
We still battle with dishes. And they have a schedule on the refrigerator.
Because when I moved in, there was no, like, my thing is, okay, I love my bonus kids, but one of the arguments they would have, one of the arguments they would have every day when we were just dating, and I would observe, and I would find, she didn't know I was filing stuff away, just in case we became serious. Like, okay. They would have this argument every night I was over there about who did the dishes and who didn't do the dishes. And more than not, it was Omarion who was lying, talking about he did them when he didn't. And I would feel so bad for Anaya. Like, I'm like, Anaya did them last night. I'm thinking, but I'm like, I'm not gonna say, I'm just dating her. I'm watching TV. And I'm thinking, you know what, if this week, so the moment I moved in, that was the very first thing. I bought the little calendar with the marker and put it on the refrigerator. No arguments in 2 years because it's accountability. So but what she's talking about even now, she does most of the cooking throughout the week. Maybe, 2 or 3 times a week, she does what she does. So my thing is, you're cooking. It's too many people in this house for you to be washing dishes. You got my son, you got my bonus kids, and me. Why are you washing dishes?
No.
Like, we're on the dish. I'm in the dish schedule. She's not. But sometimes I will still find her at the sink. I'm like, babe, what are you doing?
Just used to doing
What are you doing?
So Takesha, why? Is it hard to allow somebody to take care of you?
Yeah, it is. It's hard. It's hard. I'm just so used to doing things on my own. And that's a constant battle we have. And it's like, I have a good man, I have a good husband. He wants to do these things. Why won't you? I'm just so used to doing things. It's hard. It really is. It takes me time to just be like, you know what? He got it. I trust that he has it. Even when we started doing home projects here at the house with quarantine, it was like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. And the lawnmower situation, he was like, babe, I got it. And I'm like, well, I can cut the grass. He's like, no, I can cut the grass. It's just, I know.
He's doing.
I just want to be involved.
And she'll do it to a fault.
I know.
She'll have a migraine or I'm like, why are you at the sink with washing dishes?
I know.
And Omarion will come in, Mom, it's my. He'll even say, Mom, it's my night. What are you doing?
Because I feel like they've been in the sink too long, and I don't like to cook in the dirty
like,
kitchen.
if you don't call,
if it's time for me to cook, I don't like to. If I'm cooking, say lunch, and and there's still dishes in the sink, and Marion may still be asleep, or he's gone, or he's
wake him up.
I'm like, it's just a few dishes in here. Let me just wash them because I don't like to cook in a dirty kitchen. So it's just sometimes I'll just do it. But again, that's just me wanting to just do things because I'm just used to doing everything, and I have. Because again, it's just been me and my kids for so long, and I have to realize I have a husband. He's here to help. He's my helpmate. We'll let him lead. He's on y'all filing taxes together. What's up, Keish? Let it go. So again, it's a struggle, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Did you guys consult your children before you decided to get serious with each other?
Well, for me, when my kids, and they joke about this all the time, they knew me and George were getting serious because I used to always leave our house with my gold bag. I used to have a gold bag, and I would pack it. So whenever I left the house,
night bag.
That was my
spinning in the night.
So whenever I had my gold bag, and when I started packing stuff in that gold bag, they were like, Mom, are you getting serious with this guy? Because you got that gold backpack, and what's up? So I was like, yeah, I'm getting serious with George, and I'm gonna spend the night. So when the bag started leaving more and more and more, and I would say I was coming back and the gold bag left, they knew that we were getting serious. So that was a big thing because I never spent the night away from them like that, and like especially during like school nights and stuff. Like I would stay at George's house, and then I would get up at make sure I was up by 6 a.m. in the morning to get home, to change, to make sure. I mean, I was doing stuff that I hadn't normally done. So they was like, Ma, you creeping in here at 6 a.m. What's up with you in this gold bag? So they knew we had got serious.
With Justin, there was this time she got sick.
Oh, yeah.
And we were dating, and Justin he wasn't stupid.
He brought me the pie.
So we came from a festival, and I'm like, hey, Justin, because I was really big on not introducing him. Yeah. She's the only person that he ever met when I was dating. Yeah. So I'm like, man, my friend is sick. I got to stop by and get her some soup. So we're going to run this errand. He's like, okay. He was like 7. Yeah. So he's in the car. I keep the car, and I'm like, I'll be right back. So that's when I went in.
It was an apple pie.
Yeah, apple pie, some soup, some ginger ale.
The vanilla bean ice cream.
Yeah. So he didn't know nothing about her. So I go in. I bring her the stuff, gave her a kiss. Hope you get better.
Yeah.
I got my son out in the car. We, okay. And so I come outside. Justin was like, Dad, I don't think that's your friend. I'm like, how you figure? How you even know? You would? I don't know. I don't think you would do that for a friend. So anyway, that was around late August, September of 16. So a month later, I made the decision. I sat Justin down. I said, okay, Justin, the girl that I brought the stuff over, we're serious. Okay, what's her name? So you're going to meet her. So what I did was I wanted his mom, because my thing was this is the right thing to do. Call his mom, let her know. I had his mom come over to first meet her while Justin was upstairs. So they met, they came, they talked on the couch.
We were both nervous. I was nervous to meet her. She was nervous to meet me.
Takesha, this is my ex, but this is Justin's mom. Have at it.
Yeah.
So they talked on the couch while I was awkwardly embarrassed sitting on the floor watching TV. Justin's upstairs. So I don't know, 40 minutes, an hour.
Yeah, maybe.
So Justin comes downstairs. Justin, this is Miss Takesha. Good to meet you, Miss Takesha. And then my his mom left.
She left,
And that was that. But that's how I did it.
Yeah.
So Takesha, that was a good meeting?
Yeah, it was a really good meeting. She was really nice. She told me she had been at work all day anticipating the meeting of us meeting. It did. Okay, here it comes. And she was very, nervous. And I told her I was nervous too. I had told her that I was texting my best friends all day, like, I'm meeting his ex-wife. I hope this goes well. And we met and she shared some things, she had nothing but positive things to say about George. And she just said that, he's a good guy. He's a good man. She was like, things just didn't work out with him. She said that she would try to if she could, she would hook him up with somebody if she could. And she's glad that it seems like he found somebody and they just didn't work out. And she shared a few stories and we laughed and that was that.
That's beautiful.
So it was a really, really good meeting. And
that is not a common story.
It's not. And even after that, I think it was he had a few birthday parties and even people at Justin's birthday parties, when I was there, they were like, y'all cool? I'm like, yeah, I don't have a problem with her. She's not, but as time goes on, change. Things change from first meetings. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, but
I got you. Dear future wife, and love her. Does George live up to the hype?
Yes, he does. He does.
He practices what he preaches.
He practices what he preaches, absolutely. And that's the thing, because even sometimes when we have our little mishaps, I'll say to him, like, I'm not that book. I'm not that girl in that book. And he's like, wait, what are you talking about? Because he's so, everything that he's written, everything that's in that book is everything that he is. And sometimes I feel that I fall short of those things. Because again, he's a communicator and I'm not all the time big on communication within our marriage. And that's something that I'm working on. I even said it in our vows, and listening more. I said that in our vows. So, but yes, love her. He makes, I know that, he makes me feel like I'm everything. He treats me like a queen. He's everything that I could have prayed for. So, he's everything that he's written in that book, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner. And I'm so blessed every single day. So that's why I'm learning to let my guards down and allow him to lead, because he's a great man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's a great man.
That's beautiful.
All right. Yeah. Well, I gotta go. Bye. Bye. It was
so
good to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Bye.
She said that sometimes she doesn't feel like she lives up to the things that you've written about. So how do you make her feel more comfortable?
Just reassure her. I'm always reassuring her about the good things about her. The only issues that we've had is the communication issue, which unfortunately, like I always tell her, that's the one area of a relationship that can easily affect other areas of a relationship, which is why it's such a biggie. So it's all about really reassuring her and reminding her of why I fell in love with her, what's great about her, what's good about her, and what about her makes me feel at home, makes me feel safe, makes me feel warm, and keeps me in love. And she, like she said, she says that it's almost because she knows it's going to annoy me whenever she does say that, because I'm like, baby, I'm not, first of all, I didn't write the book about this ideal woman. It's about how we need to treat our women better. So it's not about living up to some, because I don't believe in perfection, which is why me and her, we're big on the phrase imperfectly perfect, because there's no such thing. And I tell her all the time, it's not about perfection, it's about better. We can always be better. We will never attain perfection, but we can always be better. And we can always do things better than how we're doing them now.
Yeah. Where can the people find you?
They can find me. I'm in the process of constructing a website finally that I should have done eons ago. But as of right now, I can be found on Facebook under George Lee Jr., Instagram, which is glee at glee73, and then also my book Lover can be found on Amazon.com if you just type in George Lee Jr. and Lover, which is Lover. And then also my YouTube channel, which is under George Lee Jr. as well.
George, it is so refreshing to speak to a brother that is open and honest about relationships and loving his wife and being intentional about building his blended family. This has been so refreshing. Thank you so much
good conversation.
for joining me today.
Thank you so much. And can I also say, because I wanted to say this on that thread that you had, there are good men out here, and I know it may not be a lot of us, but they're out there. And I was a man that got skipped over a lot or got looked over, especially in college and way back in the day.
Well, do y'all have We're Good Men meetings that we can find y'all at, or is there a Facebook group? Where do y'all go?
You gotta answer questions to get in the group. You know how the questions come up.
Yeah. The admins would like to know a few things.
I think what's not all the time, but I think what sometimes happens is that sometimes a woman is spending so much time with the wrong dude that God is almost blocking the good dude because he knows that you're not ready. It's like, get this fool out the way. I'm trying to show you the sun over here. You got clouds in the way. Get this dude out the way, you know. Because there was a couple instances where I was like kind of skipped over, but then revisited. Like, you good? I'm like, I'm with somebody now. Like, I was trying to a year ago, but you know. So we're here. It's just about number one, knowing that you can't. A man is who he is.
Can't change.
He's gonna change. He's gonna change when he's ready to change, if he's ever ready to change. So he is who he is on the onset. And you may as well not figure going in, wasting your time trying to build him up to what you want him to be. And that would take away a lot of wasted time right there. Yep.
You said something really good. I know we're wrapping, but he's not going to change until he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of times, you know, if you present, I need for you to do this, I need for you to do this, I need for you to do this, it's pressure. So a person may change for the moment.
Right. Especially in the beginning.
Yes. Or even in the middle. But will revert back to their normal practices because it's not a heart change.
Right.
It's more so just to shut you up.
It's not genuine.
It's not genuine. But when you decide for yourself, this will make me a better person, and I'm doing it because I want to do it, not because I'm being forced to or nagged about. That's when like real change takes place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spot on. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, George.
Thank you. This was so fun. I've been waiting to be interviewed by you for eons.
Hey, come back anytime. The next book, the next whatever, the next venture. Like, I really believe that healthy communication between men and women is so important. It gives such insight on how to do a relationship.
Most definitely, especially those of us who have been through it. And like, I could not have given advice about the blended family thing 2 years ago, but now,
Yeah.
woo, yeah,
Book number 3.
that may be. That just may be, because man.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, George. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This has been Hey BTV.